You look out into the world and see money as something solid, something sitting in a bank vault or hiding in someone else's pocket, and you think you've got to run after it. I tell you, this is the grand illusion that keeps millions of people completely broke. Money is not an independent thing operating out there on its own. It is a shadow, a perfect reflection cast by the state of mind you occupy right now. If you don't like what's showing up in your life, trying to chase down more cash is like screaming at a mirror because you don't like how your hair looks. It's totally backward, and honestly, it's a losing game. You can hustle 20 hours a day, sweat through your shirt, and stack up all the side gigs you want. But if your inner self feels stripped and empty, the money will just slip right through your fingers. It's wild how we've been conditioned to think the grind is the only way out. But the physical world doesn't dictate your reality, your consciousness does. Let me tell you, I have seen men with absolutely zero connections and no fancy degrees stumble into fortunes overnight simply because they shifted their internal landscape. They stopped viewing wealth as a distant prize to be won and started seeing it as a done deal. When you chase after something, you are screaming to the universe that you don't have it. If you're constantly hunting, you're just locked into the vibe of being a hunter who hasn't caught anything yet. You've got to flip the script entirely. The cash, the security, the freedom, they don't live in a corporate office or a lucky lottery ticket. They are qualities of your own wonderful human imagination. You must look past the illusion of the external world and recognize that everything you perceive out there is actually generated from within. When you finally get this, the desperate need to hustle backward just melts away. You stop looking at your empty pockets and start looking at the source of all supply, which is your own mind. Wealth isn't something you acquire, it's a state of being you walk into. The very second you stop viewing money as an elusive target and begin recognizing it as a natural byproduct of your inner awareness, the entire game changes. You don't have to beg, plead, or run yourself ragged. You simply have to recognize that the shadow cannot exist without the light, and you are the one holding the flame. When you spend your days desperately running after a buck, you are actually broadcasting a message that is keeping you dead broke. Think about what happens when you are out there chasing. You are completely consumed by the fact that the money isn't in your hands yet. You wake up in the morning, check your bank account, and that little knot forms in your stomach because the numbers aren't matching your dreams. Then you go about your day, stressing over prices, worrying about bills, and trying to force things to happen. I tell you, every single one of those anxious thoughts is a vivid imaginal act. You are painting a masterpiece of poverty in your mind, and you don't even realize you're doing it. You think you're just reacting to the hard facts of life, but you are actually cloning those exact same hard facts over and over again. Every time you say you can't afford something, or you get that sinking feeling when a bill hits your mailbox, you are deeply imagining lack. You are literally manifesting more emptiness, because that is the state of mind you are feeding with your attention. It is a tough pill to swallow, but the universe doesn't give you what you want, it gives you exactly what you are. If your core identity is wrapped up in the struggle, you can scream into the void all day about wanting to be rich, but the world is only going to reflect the struggle back at you. I have seen folks work themselves to the bone, putting in crazy hours, yet they never seem to get ahead. They are trapped on a financial hamster wheel, and it's not because they lack drive or talent. It's because their inner dialogue is constantly stuck on the shortage. They are mentally rehearsing the worst case scenarios while hoping for a miracle. It doesn't work that way. You cannot look at a lack of funds, feel the sting of that lack, and somehow expect wealth to walk through your front door. That is trying to gather grapes from thorns. You are using the magnificent power of your imagination to lock yourself in a mental prison, and then you're wondering why you can't break out into the clear. Let's be real about what chasing actually means. It means you are acting from a place of absolute desperation. It's that panicky energy that says, if I don't secure this bag right now, I'm going to go under. When you operate from that frantic headspace, you are placing money on a massive pedestal, making it your master instead of your servant. You've turned it into this untouchable god that you have to please and beg for a scrap. But money is just dead energy, a simple tool that is meant to follow you, not lead you around by the nose. When you run after it like a maniac, you are asserting its power over you. You are affirming that you are small, helpless, and dependent on something outside of yourself to feel secure. This constant state of anxiety is a heavy anchor dragging you down. You are building a mountain of evidence for why you are broke, and your mind is flawlessly executing that blueprint. You must stop feeding the illusion of shortage with your emotional energy. Every single time you let fear dictate your next move, you are validating a lie. You are looking at the shadow on the wall and panicking, forgetting completely that you are the one holding the flashlight. The moment you catch yourself slipping into that desperate mindset, you have to freeze and pivot. If you continue to imagine the rent bounce or the credit cards maxed out, you are giving those situations permission to manifest in your physical world. It takes a lot of guts to look at an empty wallet and refuse to feel poor, but that is exactly what is required of you. You have to stop reacting to the temporary conditions of today. If you ever want to see a different tomorrow, stop spending your precious mental currency on thoughts of debt and limitation. When you finally cut off the supply of attention to your financial worries, you starve them out of existence. You have to drop the frantic hustle, step off the chase, and realize that as long as you are running after abundance, you are proving to your own consciousness that it is currently out of reach. This is where the rubber meets the road, and honestly, it is the exact spot where most people end up completely throwing in the towel. You have got to show some serious guts here. To change your financial reality, you must bravely abandon the identity of the seeker and dare to occupy the state of the one who already possesses abundance. This isn't about faking it until you make it, and it definitely isn't about playing make-believe like a kid. It is a hardcore psychological relocation. You have to pack up your bags and mentally move out of the slums of lack and step right into the mansion of wealth, claiming it as your permanent address. Most folks are completely terrified to do this because they look at their bank accounts, see a double-digit balance, and say, "How can I act like I'm rolling in dough when I'm literally struggling to scrape together rent?" But I tell you, as long as you keep identifying as the guy who is trying to get rich, you are permanently stuck in the waiting room. You have to realize that trying is a trap. The person who is trying to get rich is, by definition, a person who is not rich. When you tell yourself, "I'm working on it, I'm trying to get that bag, I'm hoping things turn around," you are validating the absence of wealth. You are wearing the clothes of a beggar while looking through the window at a feast. You've got to stop standing on the outside looking in. You have to bold-faced lie to your current physical senses, if that's what it takes, and claim the prize right now. You must step up and assume the identity of the wealthy individual today, before a single dime shows up in the physical world. It sounds completely wild to the logical mind, I know. The world will call you delusional. Your friends might think you've lost your marbles, and your own brain will scream that you're broke. But the physical facts you see out there are just the dead ashes of past thoughts. They have no power to sustain themselves unless you keep feeding them with your current attention. I have seen people completely flip their lives around the very moment they made this internal shift. They stopped waiting for the money to arrive before they allowed themselves to feel secure. They understood that the feeling of wealth must come before the wealth itself. If you are waiting for $1 million to hit your account, so you can finally breathe a sigh of relief and feel successful, you are doing it completely backward. The relief must be felt first. The success must be claimed in the quiet spaces of your own mind before it can ever harden into a physical fact. You have to ask yourself, how would I walk down the street right now if I had $1 million in the bank? How would I look at a menu? How would I treat other people? What would my posture be like? That is the identity you have to adopt right now, on a random Tuesday, while your wallet is feeling light. You see, a wealthy person doesn't look at the world through the lens of cost. They look at it through the lens of value and freedom. They aren't constantly sweating the small stuff or panicking over every minor expense. They have this easy, relaxed vibe because they know they are taken care of. That is the state of consciousness you must dare to occupy. You have to put on that vibe like a tailored suit and wear it until it feels completely natural to you. If it feels fake or forced at first, that just means you're still visiting the state instead of living in it. You have to stay there. You have to persist in that assumption until it becomes your new normal, until it is the natural filter through which you see everything. Let's cut through the noise. This requires a massive amount of self-discipline. It means when a bill comes in, instead of sliding into that familiar, stomach-sinking panic, You take a deep breath and view it from the perspective of someone who can easily pay it 10 times over. You don't let the physical appearance of lack dictate your emotional state. You remain loyal to your internal identity, no matter what the external world is throwing at you. If you allow the outside world to dictate how you feel, you are completely at the mercy of circumstances, just drifting like a piece of driftwood in the ocean. But when you anchor yourself in the identity of abundance, you become the captain of the ship. The world has no choice but to adjust to the new version of you. Think about it this way: the universe is a giant mirror, and it can only reflect the face you are showing it. If you stand in front of the mirror, wearing the face of a desperate seeker, the mirror will flawlessly reflect a desperate seeker back at you, complete with all the bills and struggles that match that identity. You can't reach into the mirror and try to force the reflection to smile. You have to smile first. You have to change the face you are presenting. Drop the identity of the person who is struggling, hoping, and wishing. Throw that old version of yourself into the trash can. Step into the shoes of the version of you who has already won the game, who is completely financially free, and who doesn't have a single care in the world regarding money. When you dare to occupy that state completely, without looking back, the old reality begins to dissolve, and a bridge of incidents will automatically form to carry you straight into the physical manifestation of the wealth you have already claimed within. You must understand that this transformation doesn't happen by pure luck or just wishing on a star. It takes a precise, deliberate method to reprogram your mind. If you want to stop chasing cash and have it come looking for you, you've got to master two main tools: your inner conversations and the quiet imaginal acts right before you drift off to sleep. Let's talk about those inner conversations first, because honestly, that's where most people completely mess up their vibe. Your mind is running a 24/7 commentary track in the background, and if we're being real, most of that track is filled with broke-minded chatter. You're mentally arguing with your boss, worrying about prices, or rehearsing a sob story to your friends about how expensive everything is. I tell you that inner talk is the blueprint of your tomorrow. You cannot talk like a victim inside your head and expect to live like a boss in the real world. You have to totally hijack that inner dialogue. When you're walking down the street or washing the dishes, your mental chatter needs to match the reality of someone who is completely set for life. Instead of thinking about how tight things are, you need to mentally high-five yourself for how easily everything is flowing. You have to change the script of your mind until your inner thoughts sound like a winner's circle celebration. Now, the absolute golden hour for this method is that sweet spot right before you fall asleep, when you're floating in that drowsy, half-awake state. That is when the door to your deeper mind is wide open, and whatever you drop into it at that moment is going to take root and grow. Most people use this precious time to scroll through social media, get mad at the news, or stress over their to-do list for tomorrow, and then they wonder why they wake up feeling exhausted and broke. They are literally programming their minds for struggle right before they lose consciousness. You have to flip that completely. When you lay your head on the pillow, you need to completely shut out the physical world and step into a scene that implies your financial worries are history. Don't make it a long, complicated movie with a million moving parts. Your brain is too tired for that. Keep it incredibly simple. Create a short, vivid loop of a scene that could only happen after your financial breakthrough has already gone down. Maybe it's a close friend looking you dead in the eye, shaking your hand and saying, "Man, I am so incredibly happy for your success." Or maybe it's you looking at your phone, seeing a massive balance in your account, and feeling that deep, quiet sigh of relief. Whatever the scene is, make it real. Don't just look at it like you're watching a screen. You have to put yourself inside the scene. Feel the physical texture of your friend's hand. Hear the exact tone of their voice. See the numbers clearly. Loop that short scene over and over again in your mind. Let it play like a GIF on repeat. As you do this, the initial excitement will start to fade, and it will begin to feel completely natural, almost ordinary. That is the sweet spot. You want to fall asleep wrapped up in that specific feeling of it being a done deal. If you find your mind trying to wander off to think about your bills or your stressful day, don't get frustrated. Just gently grab your focus by the collar and drag it right back to your loop. You are laying down the tracks for your future reality while you sleep. I have seen this work time and time again for people who were completely up against the wall. They stopped begging the universe for a break and started ordering what they wanted from the menu of their own imagination right before bed. When you fall asleep in the state of wealth, your deeper mind accepts it as an absolute fact. It doesn't know the difference between a physical dollar bill and a deeply felt imagination. It just takes the blueprint you gave it during the night and goes to work rearranging the physical world to match it. When you wake up the next morning, you don't go hunting for signs or panicking because a stack of cash didn't magically drop on your face overnight. You just walk through your day knowing the seed has been planted. If you catch your inner voice trying to slip back into that old, desperate hustle talk during the day, you shut it down immediately. You tell yourself, no, we don't play that game anymore. And you pivot back to the inner conversation of abundance. You have to protect your mental real estate like your life depends on it, because your financial freedom literally does. This method isn't about trying to force things to happen in the outside world. It's about making a change so deep inside yourself that the outside world has no choice but to shift. You become a magnet. When your inner conversations are wealthy and your sleep is anchored in fulfillment, you stop running after the bag. The bag starts tracking you down through a series of natural events that nobody could have predicted. You don't have to figure out the how or the when. Your only job is to stay locked into the method and let the results take care of themselves. You have to understand that true wealth isn't anchored in the constant counting of coins or obsessively refreshing your bank app. It is anchored in the deep, natural relief of security and fulfillment. This is where the magic happens, and it's the secret sauce that separates the people who just wish for money from the ones who actually pull it into their lives. Most folks are completely mixed up about what a feeling actually is. They think feeling wealthy means you have to walk around all day in a state of high vibe euphoria, jumping up and down, screaming affirmations, or acting like you just won the lottery. But let's be real, nobody can sustain that kind of frantic energy without burning out. That isn't what wealth feels like anyway. Real wealth is quiet, it's relaxed. It's that deep, effortless exhale you take when you know all your bills are paid, your future is secure, and you don't have to prove a single thing to anyone. It's the feeling of absolute normalcy. Think about it this way, how do you feel right now about the air you breathe? You don't wake up in a cold sweat wondering if there's going to be enough oxygen for you today. You don't hoard air in jars or run around chasing the wind because you're scared you'll run out. You just breathe. It's so completely natural to you that you don't even give it a second thought. That exact same feeling of total, unquestioned security is what you must cultivate around money. As long as money feels like this wild, elusive prize that is hard to catch, it will stay far away from you. You have to take it off that massive pedestal and bring it down to earth. You have to make the thought of you being absolutely loaded feel as ordinary and natural as putting on your favorite pair of worn-out sneakers. I tell you, the feeling of relief is the ultimate cheat code in this game. Relief is the absolute proof that the struggle is officially over. When you are desperately chasing a buck, your body is tight, your mind is racing, and you are trapped in a state of fight or flight. You're constantly waiting for the next financial blow to land. To break that cycle, you have to mentally step into the future where your breakthrough has already happened, and you have to capture the exact emotional residue of that moment. What does that look like? It looks like a long, slow sigh. It's that feeling in your chest when the weight of the world is lifted off your shoulders and you can finally just be. You aren't celebrating like a maniac, you are just at peace. You look around your room, and even if the physical walls are the same for the moment, internally you are sitting on top of the world. You have to anchor yourself in that specific flavor of relief until it becomes your default emotional baseline. Most people fail because they are completely addicted to the feeling of the struggle. They love to get together with their buddies and complain about how expensive groceries are, how bad the economy is, and how hard it is to make a buck. They are literally bonding over their mutual brokenness. I have seen folks who claim they want to be rich, but the second you hand them a vision of absolute financial ease, they get uncomfortable. They don't know how to operate without the stress. They are so used to the hustle and the panic that peace feels totally alien to them. You have to break that addiction. You have to dare to feel secure even when the physical world is trying to tell you otherwise. When a bill hits your email, instead of letting that familiar knot tighten up in your stomach, you intentionally trigger that feeling of relief. You mentally look at it from the perspective of someone who views that bill as pocket change. You don't let the outside world dictate your internal temperature. Let me tell you, I have seen the most incredible transformations happen the exact moment a person finally let go of the tension and accepted the feeling of fulfillment. It's like a dam breaks in their life. Suddenly, the right people start calling them out of nowhere, lucrative opportunities land directly in their lap, and money starts flowing in from directions they didn't even know existed. They didn't change their physical strategy, they changed their emotional frequency. They stopped radiating the frantic, needy energy of a beggar and started radiating the calm, assured presence of an owner. Money is incredibly sensitive to your underlying energy. If you approach it with desperation, it will run away from you like a stray dog detects fear. But when you treat it with a casual, relaxed assumption that it belongs to you, it will naturally gravitate toward you. You must understand that the feeling is the actual substance of the wealth you are seeking. The cash, the houses, the luxury cars, those are just the physical clothes that the feeling wears once it hardens into reality. If you don't have the feeling first, the physical things cannot appear. And even if they somehow did through some crazy fluke, they wouldn't stay long, because you wouldn't have the internal blueprint to hold on to them. You have to build the structure inside yourself first. Every single day, make it your primary job to cultivate that quiet sense of abundance. When you eat a meal, don't just scarf it down while worrying about your bank account. Feel the luxury of having food on your plate. When you pay for gas, don't resent the price. Feel the immense wealth of owning a vehicle that can move you around. Look for every single opportunity to validate the feeling of being taken care of by life. When you anchor yourself so deeply in that sense of security that no external event can shake you, you have officially won the game. You are no longer a hunter out in the wild, scraping for survival. You are the center of your own universe, and everything you need is already rushing toward you to match the state of fulfillment you have claimed within. Once your internal definition of yourself changes, the entire world has no choice but to completely rearrange itself to match your new state. This is the absolute law of your own being, and I tell you, there are zero exceptions to it. You don't have to go out there and fight the world. You don't have to beg people for opportunities. And you definitely don't have to bend over backward, trying to manipulate circumstances. The world out there is nothing more than a giant projection screen, and you are the one running the film from the projector of your own mind. If you don't like the movie playing out on the screen, if it's a story of struggle, bad luck, and constantly missing out on that bag, you don't run up to the screen and try to tear it down with your bare hands. That is what the average person does, and it is a total waste of energy. You have to walk back to the projection booth, swap out the film, and change your deep inner definition of who you are. The very second your core identity shifts from a person who is wanting to a person who is already having, the physical world will bend to match it. Let me tell you, I have seen this happen over and over again in ways that would completely blow your mind. People call it a miracle, or they say it's just wild luck. But it is nothing but the clean, flawless operation of law. When you finally stop looking back at your old broke self, when you completely sever the emotional tie to that old version of you, the universe starts moving heavy machinery behind the scenes to build your new life. A bridge of incidents will automatically begin to form under your feet. You might get a random phone call from an old acquaintance offering you a crazy high, paying gig out of the blue. You might get an intuitive hit to take a completely different route home from work, and you end up bumping into the exact person who has been looking for someone with your specific skills. You couldn't plan these things if you tried. The logical mind could never calculate the millions of tiny moving parts required to deliver your wealth straight to your door, but your deeper consciousness does it effortlessly. Your only job is to stand firm in your new conviction and let the world catch up to you. You have to understand that this requires absolute, unwavering persistence. The physical world is a bit dense, so it usually takes a little bit of time for the new inner blueprint to completely harden into physical reality. There is a lag time. When you first make the shift and claim your abundance, you might wake up the next morning and still see the same old apartment, the same old car, and the same old stack of bills on the kitchen counter. This is the ultimate test. This is where most people completely lose their grip and slide right back into their old ways. They look at the physical facts and say, well, I tried that imagination stuff, and it clearly didn't work. The moment you say that, you have officially stepped back into the old state of lack. You have to be strong enough to look right at those temporary facts and refuse to give them any power over you. You have to tell yourself, that's just the echo of who I used to be. My new reality is already a done deal. You have to walk through the world with the absolute certainty that what you have claimed in the silence of your mind is already real, even before it shows its face in the physical world. Stop looking outside of yourself for validation or signs that things are working. When you are constantly hunting for signs, you are still acting like a seeker who doesn't have the prize yet. A person who is already sitting on millions doesn't spend their day looking for signs that they're rich. They just know they are, and they go about their business with total peace of mind. That is the exact level of conviction you need to hold on to. Let the outside world do whatever it's going to do. Let people doubt you. Let the economy look shaky. Let the numbers on the screen look low for a minute. None of that can touch you unless you give it permission by reacting to it with fear. If you remain completely loyal to your internal vision, if you refuse to compromise your identity as a wealthy, secure person, the old reality will simply starve to death from a lack of your attention. It will wither away, and the new world you have constructed inside will rush in to take its place. I want you to drop the frantic hustle completely. Throw away the idea that you have to grind yourself into the dust to deserve a good life. Wealth is your natural birthright, but you have to claim it by stepping into the state of mind where it already exists. When you finally make that shift, you will realize that you never had to chase the money in the first place. You don't chase the shadow, you just move the light. The moment you stand tall in your true identity and fill your mind with the quiet, deep conviction of fulfillment, the chase is officially over. The money, the freedom, the luxury, they will start tracking you down like you're a magnet. They will chase you because they have to, because the world has no choice but to reflect exactly who you believe yourself to be. Walk out of this room today with your head held high, breathing that deep sigh of relief, knowing that the game is already won and the prize is already yours.